Morning.
Hello, everyone. People are still kind of popping in slowly. We'll just wait till everyone's come in the room.
Let me do that. Uh, how do I do that?
Hi, Ro.
Good morning.
He is here.
Yeah.
My daughter Penny is at work, but she is in.
Oh, awesome. That's commitment.
Okay, great. So, thanks everyone for coming. So it looks like most people are in now. A couple more people I just got to add. Hi, Brenda. Hey, Holly. So, thanks everyone for coming. And this is a really exciting workshop because we've got David with us, who's going to be the facilitator for the teen seminar in Melbourne in July. And yeah, we're really honored to have David here with us. It's Friday evening for him in the States, but obviously Saturday morning here. And um, David's going to talk us through a little bit about insight and introduce himself. And then we can get on with the workshop. But feel free, if you have any questions at any time during the presentation, you can just raise your hand and David will answer any questions, or we can answer questions that you have about the seminar. So, yeah, over to you.
My computer's mute for some reason.
So, hi, everybody. I'm David Rayner. I want to say hi from the west coast of California. I'm in Carlsbad, which is a little bit outside of San Diego. So I'm along a beach, and it is kind of summer here. So we're in another time of the year. And it's really great to see all of you. Some of you I know, some of you I do not know, and I look forward to meeting. And, we're talking about something that's near and dear to my heart. So I took Teen Insight when I was a teen, and it changed my life. And it's been an avocation of mine ever since, meaning it's just something that I do all the time. I have, three children I raise. I have a stepdaughter also, and my children have taken every teen insight from the ages of 13 to, their 20s and then are involved with the adult program because it's a life changer and in a great way. And I'll talk to you a little bit about insight because sometimes there's a mystique. What is it? How does it work? Why is it? What's it? What does insight mean? If I really wanted to create a better name for the seminar, I might call it a seminar about learning how to create a life that you love. The science of how to live and be happy and fulfilled. And, no one really teaches what we teach in Insight in the educational system. You don't learn it from your friends. And often when we get to the teenage years, we've seen enough and heard enough from our parents that it's kind of like, we need a little break as teens from our parents. And so then where can you get support for things like how do you make your life more loving? How do you learn how to be have the right attitude and mindset? How do you fix that? How do you deal and navigate with anxiety? They did a study of kids going into the University of Harvard in the East Coast in Boston, and they were saying that the number one issue that teenagers face going into Harvard was depression and anxiety, and some of them were on the loneliness, and they were saying it's because of how they're using social media. I don't think social media is bad. I think it's how are you using it? Are you using it to compare yourself to others, or to focus on disastrous events taking place all around the world, right? So insight is a really powerful tool that was developed a long time ago. One of the things that we've gotten away from, but I think we all know it, is when we get together as a group, there's good energy that happens. And teenagers often get together in groups, but there's no real focus on how do we, live a happier life? How do we have better relationships? How do we learn to communicate better? There's no focus. It's just we're hanging out. In Insight, we take that hangout energy and we add to it, keys to living your life and feeling better about your life. And that is what makes the seminar powerful because you get these kids, you have kids. I'm going to go back. So this is a Teen Insight introduction event. You have kids that are really listening to each other, and that's really what makes the seminar powerful because young people know what young people are going through. So what we do is we get together and put young people together, and then we talk about some of the science of living a happy, loving life, and it's awesome. So I would say that often people that take Teen Insight, young people will say after the weekend that that was the funnest 3 days I've had it in a long time, if not my whole life. That's not uncommon because what we're doing in Teen Insight is we're just doing life, but we're teaching how to navigate life in fun ways. We play games. We have one-on-one conversations. We have group conversations. We have, music and how to visualize and all the things that we kind of need to have in our toolkit to navigate life. The one thing that we all deal with in life is change. We all went through the whole COVID experience, and a lot of people had a heck of a time because they did not like change. But what we know is that we have to get good at change because in the world today, things are accelerating. We have AI as a major element in the world today, and AI keeps coming up with new ideas on how we can do things more efficiently, and then we change things. So what Insight's about is to help people learn to love themselves. And when I learned that as a teenager, it's not like I wasn't loving or I was unhappy. I was fine. I was fine when I took Insight. But what I realized in the seminar was just how much more love I had than I recognized. I found out how much I had to give, but also how to um, communicate, how to receive and give, and also how to, what we call an insight, fill my own cup. Because a lot of young people have learned a lesson that I think, to me, I see this in the world. People are really great at giving to others, but a lot of young people give to their friends. They are there for their social life and their community, but they often haven't learned how to have the balance of filling their own cup. Because in life, we have a full cup of water when we start, and when we give to others, when we're there for others, we give that water away, which is great if we're replenishing the cup, if we're filling our cup back up. And insight is about learning how to fill your cup back up as you go through life so you don't end up depleted, empty, with anxiety or depression. Those are side effects of not taking care of ourselves. And I'll show you some of the science being done around the brain that's not even teen insight, but this work is being done. So, teen insight is what we call awakening to the power of your heart, teen insight one. And what we're saying is there's a power that you have and it's in your heart, and it's not about how smart you are, although you could be brilliant. It's not about your emotional intelligence, although you may have wonderful connectivity and intimacy with people. It's about your heart, which adds a dimension that most people aren't thinking about. So it's a very caring based seminar. And it teaches people how to love themselves, as you saw on the last slide. John Roger, one of the creators of Insight, was saying, people fight for peace. And what we teach is if you fight for peace, what do you get? Peace or fighting? Well, if you're fighting for peace, you experience fighting. And most people want peace. And the only way to get peace is to be peaceful. The only way to get love for yourself is to be loving. And how do you do it? Most people don't even know that. So we teach people how to do it, and then we have a number of other teen seminars. Once those young people like the teen one, they can take teen two, teen three, and teen leadership. And so we're going to be doing a seminar in Australia, in Melbourne, on July 9th to 12th, and it's going to be 3.5 days. We basically, one of the things that kind of can sometimes intimidate people from taking the seminars, they're looking at the schedule and it says morning till evening. And what we really, our timeline is really like this. Like on the first day, we go from about 2 p.m. to about 7 p.m. And we have breaks every hour and a half or 2 hours. We have snacks, we have hangout, we play, we have fun. That goes by really fast. And then the next day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we start 9 to 10 a.m. I think we start at 10 a.m. And we take breaks every hour and a half, 2 hours. We have hangout time. We play games. We have fun. People love it. And then we teach these ideas on how to create a life you love through each of these days. So kids love it. I often have kids coming up to me, thank you, that was great, because what you if you think of school, going to school from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., you're gonna want to slit your throat, right? I mean, that's what a teenager would be thinking. That's not what we doing inside. This is not school, but it is. You do learn, but it's not school. It's about connecting and learning how to slow down, take a look under the hood of the car, which is our life, and just kind of see what could I do to make my life work better? What do I need to do less of? Right? And that's that power that is Teen Insight. So we love the seminar. I'm going to talk a little bit about a thriving mind in a moment, but I want to just stop sharing here. And I want to open it up. If we have any young people, any parents, you're on this call, and we want to thank you for jumping on. If you're looking at this in the recording, ask the person who sent it to you any questions you have. But what questions do you have about what insight is, about what I've talked about so far? Any logistics, any questions about content? I wanted to just stop and take a moment to let you ask me anything and that you want. And if you don't have anything, that's fine, but I just want to check in with the group and Rachel if there's anything you want to add. So just stopping for a moment. Anyone have any questions, any comments, any thoughts? I'm checking the chat too. You can put it in the chat if you have anything. So does anyone have anything? If you do, just unmute yourself. Okay, thank you very much, Greg. What is the philosophical or religious framework it is based on? Okay, so this is a non-denominational program, and it's an educational. We call it in the United States. I don't know what you guys do. It's a not-for-profit organization that's educational. So people of all religious denominations or non-religious denominations can take insight. We don't push any denomination. Like I said, it's kind of the science of like how to make your life work. And we focus in on the areas that would affect our health, wealth, relationships, our with ourself and with others, how to improve that, the relationship with ourselves, how to improve the relationship with others, and to help people tune into more of what their purpose is, and help people achieve it. Like so, you would say that it's a
Sorry,
on one
David, could I
level,
clarify my question? Because I probably
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
make myself clear. In terms of what you're teaching, what where did it come from? I guess I'm asking
This
because
seminar, so
people say
uh,
things, this is a
yes,
science or this is based on this or that.
yeah,
Have
yeah,
you
yeah,
got some
yeah,
more
yeah.
details?
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay. So, and the essence of this work, if you really want to go to what this is in the 60s, there was a gentleman that started a therapy called Gestalt therapy, Frederick Pearls, and he started doing encounter work with groups and individuals and role playing, and he started noticing there was a power in the group dynamics that self actualizations was then another guy, Stuart Emery, he saw some real value in getting humans together to talk about life, right? Because often we go through life on our own and we get isolated, and then we think what we're going through is abnormal. When in fact, when you get enough people together, everybody's kind of going, "I'm dealing with that. I deal with that," and we realize our humanity. So in the 60s and 70s, this work was pioneered. There was a seminar being done that it was similar to some of the dynamics of insight called LifeSpring. And the facilitator there knew that the work was, think about doing personal growth work, but just think about me if I was your facilitator and I would be, just kicking your butt like a army sergeant, right? Think about that style. And that was more like the work that this gentleman, Russell Bishop, was seeing in LifeSpring, kicking the door down to openness, kicking the door down to self love. And he said, we can do this better. And he went to John Roger and said, look, this work is transformational because people get to take a look at their lives and improve it. But I want to do it with more of a loving based approach. And so he and John Roger got together and evolved that seminar into what is insight. And the idea was to help people navigate the world better, like live life better, have better relationships, have better success in the world, but also learn the most important dynamic, which is loving yourself is the key denominator in life. And so that's kind of the origins of it. And we have been doing a very similar seminar since 1978 when it started. The difference is that we've shortened it. One of the things I've recognized is that now, the average attention span is, anyone know? Can I get a guess?
Like 10 minutes, 3 minutes.
Oh, you got to go way down, Rachel. It's about 6 to 8 seconds.
Right.
We have human beings the average attention span of a goldfish right now, and it
Mhm.
is because of these wonderful devices. And what happens now? Because think about it, you're looking at your device, but aren't you looking at your device while you're looking at your TV device?
Mhm.
And then how many of you are like me? My wife doesn't want to watch the sports game, so I put the sports game on my iPad while I watch the TV, while I check in my phone. And what happens is our brain is doing a lot of task switching. And when that happens, we lose attention span. So, yeah, what I started doing in the training, and that's why I said when kids take the training with me, they love it because I don't belabor points and I don't go long because people want to have fun, want to enjoy it, but it can't turn into class, right? So I've just recognized the shortening of the attention span to make things faster, quicker. Great question, great question, Gray. Thanks for asking that. Anyone else have anything they want to ask about what is inside? Anything else? By the way, the doors are always open. There is no, this is just a regular room where people, get dropped off and picked up. We take really great care of the kids, but they generally, on all breaks, are hanging out with each other. They're very rarely, we keep an eye on them to make sure they're taken care of, and we provide a lot of snacks. It's one of the things that I'm always amazed at how much food kids can eat. But yeah, but other than that, that's kind of insight. So, any other questions? Because I have a little content I want to show you, which speaks kind of to this generation and what insight is. I'm not really doing, but let's just say I'm going over the content you're going to see in a minute. Well, in insight, the difference would be I might say, okay, guys, I'd like you to get a partner and talk about what you just heard, and tell your partner one thing that you really liked about what you heard, right, or what you learned, or it might be we add experience to information because school can often be just listening and you just want to like fall over and croak, right? But um in insight, we don't let it get there. We basically allow people to connect, play, and move so that they have an experience and they really learn what works for them. So, if there's no other questions, I'll share a little content with you. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in about 15, 20 minutes and take any more questions, thoughts, or comments. You can drop anything in the chat about the topic, As I said, I'm going to talk about thriving mind because this work was developed by Dr. Leanne Williams out of Stanford Medicine. And what she was noticing is that basically the human brain has a reaction to stress. And we'll talk about it because what's really cutting edge is that there's only certain amount of reactions to stress, and you're going to have one of them. So your brain responds to stress. What is stress, right? The accumulation of this pressure there. So like if I have a balloon that is filling up, like I've got a lot going on and I'm getting a little stressed out about it. When the balloon is the perfect shape and size, that is healthy stress. And we need good, there is good stress. For example, you have a baby, you're going to college, or you're going to high school. Like there's some stress there, but that's good stress. That we need to keep taking those next steps in life. But when we don't handle the stress and it keeps balloon keeps filling with air, it turns into ugly stress. And when that happens, the balloon can pop, which is called a stress response. So when our stress balloon pops, it is purely because we are not taking care of ourselves. And I tell people this in some of the other businesses I work with. It takes great commitment to do one thing to take care of yourself that you are not currently doing. And teens aren't even thinking about taking care of yourself. If you're a teenager, you may not realize this because you have a lot of things at the teen years. You know, you're in your biological peak. You may not be tracking it, but you do know you have stress. It could be when I go hang out with my friends, I have stress, right? But if you don't handle it and it becomes a bad, ugly stress, you can end up having what you think is a mental breakdown or emotional breakdown. But what's really happening is a short circuit has taken place in your brain. And here's what's unique. There are only 8 short circuits in the human brain that any human, every human on earth has one of these short circuits or stress responses that is yours. Dr. Leanne Williams found out that everybody has one of these biotypes or stress responses. I'll go over them briefly, but they are essentially, you will notice all of them. Most of you will notice most of them. Some of them you'll go, I don't have that one. You may say, I have 5 of these or 6 of these. But if we did a functional MRI and put you under stress, we would be able to find out which one of these is actually your biotype. Obviously, we can't do it. But what I want you to take from today is, people will not take care of themselves unless they prioritize themselves, which is what we teach in Insight. And in Teen Insight, people, well, why do you have to have a training? I mean, I know, take care of myself. No, people say they should take care of themselves, but they don't. How many of you know you shouldn't eat fast food all the time, but you do? Or how many of you know you should sleep more, but you don't? Or maybe working out is a good idea. Anybody know that, but it's not happening? Right? So we know these things in our mind, but that I had a girl, we were in New Zealand doing the Insight Adult Seminar. She was a teenager and she was sharing crying that she knew she should be loving herself, but she wasn't. She wasn't was the problem. But she read on ChatGPT, it can tell you how should I feel better? Ask ChatGPT or whatever AI you use. It'll tell you love yourself, be good to you. You have the information. But if you're noticing these biotypes, you're not reducing your stress. So rumination is the first one, the blue dots on the left there. That's worry. That's the worry biotype. Now, a lot of people think this is their biotype when they first start looking at biotypes because we all can relate to worrying. But rumination is where you're worrying with no solution in mind ever. You're just driving yourself down into worry. You'll hit you know, depression and no joy and just, oh my God, this problem. Now, which you're not even realizing this is a biotype. You're just thinking you're worrying about something. But what's happening is your brain is snapped and you get stuck in the worry. You know it's rumination when you are doing it incessantly and you're not even thinking about solutions. Now, if you worry, but you plan solutions and you get over it, you may not have this biotype. But if it's your biotype, this will drive you down into worthlessness. And you'll really get depressed everything over what you're worrying about and you can't shake it. Anxious avoidance is the next one over here with all the green dots. Now, if you look at that one, a lot of kids that are teenagers, their stress response is anxiousness. So we know anxiety is one of the number one issues with teenagers. But this is a stress response. So how do we know if you have anxiety or if you're having a brain biotype? Because if you have a brain biotype stuck pattern hitting because you don't take care of your stress, you're going to go to the doctor. They're going to tell you you have anxiety and give you medication. You will be labeled as someone with anxiety. But what's happening is you're literally letting your biotype go off, which is because you're not reducing the stress. So this is because of stress not being taken care of. You can end up in a clinical diagnosis with a doctor, with a drug, and yet you could have avoided it if you were able to take better care of yourself. Now, I'm not making light of people with issues with anxiety. I'm just saying the same with inattention. Look at the yellow one, inattention. How many kids are being diagnosed with ADHD? Attention deficit issues. Adults also. Now, what's happening? Do all these suddenly we have a new generation that just needs inattention drugs? No, what's happening is some of these people, their biotype is snapping because they are in stressful situations. They are not handling the stress. They're kicking into inattention, which is a loss of focus, the inability to sustain any focus for a long period of time, not completing their work, not completing their remembering to do things. That is all a biotype, in addition to the fact that you could be diagnosed with it. Now, what I'm saying is if we learn to take care of ourselves, then we'll find out what we're really dealing with. But if we're not taking care of ourselves, we don't know. Now, do you know the age range that people are the meanest to each other in life? You know what it is? About 5 to 20. We're the meanest when we're teenagers, when we're young kids, when we don't have filters and we don't know what the heck we're doing to people. And so kids get stressed. And when their biotype pops and they're now at the doctor's office or you're worried heavily about them, I want you to know the antidote is self-care. It's filling the cup up with water and reducing the air in the balloon. Negative bias is next to anxious avoidance. That one is seeing the cup half full in life. You just see everything negative. And a lot of us know people that are always negative about stuff. Now, some of it could just be attitude and complaining, but some of it could be they have a negative bias biotype and they are stressed. If you have negative bias and you get too stressed, balloon pops, you're going to be negative about everything. The world is ending. This could drive you to depression, loneliness. The next one, threat response. Threat response is panic attack. It's breathing fast. It's releasing cortisol, which is a very damaging hormone that we can release when we are in danger. We get this cortisol boost to get out of danger. It's the fight or flight response. You have to flee from danger. Your brain is ready for that response. But when you have threat response, you are having the same fight or flight, but you might be talking to someone. You might be at school just sitting at your desk. If you get triggered, if that balloon pops, you could be in panic over something that the person next to you doesn't even understand why. Now, what do we tell people who have panic attacks, threat response, oh my God, oh my God. We tell them to slow down and breathe, don't we? We tell them take some deep breaths, slow down, relax, because that is actually the antidote for threat response. But that is the antidote for almost all of these things. And we'll talk about some of the ways we fill the cup. But threat response is, if you have it, you're getting to that panic attack stage, and it doesn't mean the outer conditions match why you're feeling that way. You may not be in an emergency. Emotional numbness and context insensitivity are similar. Emotional numbness is your brain gets into a stuck pattern and you stop feeling. It turns off feeling. You get numb. When this happens and you get numb, you could be in an amazing, beautiful beach or in watching a disaster and none of it kicks in. None of it, you don't feel anything. This is a tough one. When you have this, you often will see, if you have it, you could see yourself using substances, drugs, alcohol, something. Why? Because you want to feel. People get into these states and they don't get themselves out of it. If you hit one of these biotypes too long, you will go get a clinical. You'll be clinical around it. You'll get a doc. Something will happen. You will need treatment if you don't get out, if you don't have a way out. I'm telling you this because there's a way out. I'm not telling you this to worry you, but I am telling you that if you have a kid with emotional numbness, or you're a kid with emotional numbness or some of these other issues, your behavior, you may go, why are they behaving that way? Because their brain is in a stuck pattern. Once it gets there, it's hard to change it. But when you learn how to keep releasing the air in the balloon, it doesn't have to happen. And I'm not, once again, talking about extreme psychological cases, personality disorders and high level clinical issues. Those issues are those issues. I'm talking about that most people can actually reduce their stress to a level of staying healthy. And most people who don't take care of themselves can actually end up needing, therapeutic assistance. Context and sensitivity is just taking emotional numbness and extending it to you don't have a why, you have no passion, you're burnt out, and across all contexts, work, play, relationships, none of it matters. There's nothing matters over anything else. It's a form of emotional numbness, and it can lead to some of the same challenges as emotional numbness. People that hit context and sensitivity will often take, if you're working, they'll take a sabbatical. I gotta stop. Or in school, maybe they're gonna go to homeschool. Like they just can't. These are breakdowns like that. And then the final one is cognitive fog. That is foggy brain, not remembering the focus, not being able to push through and stay concentrated for long periods of time. That ties into inattention. But the thing is we also know that cognitive fog in the elderly ages, isn't a good thing either. You can't remember anything. But this is also a biotype. So some of it is we're not reducing our stress. So, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat and I'll check the chat in a moment. But just remember, when we were little, and this is before you're a teenager. So when you're little, your default mode was like Fantasyland, dreaming of your fantasies and great things you wanted. But as you get older, if you start having life's challenges and a few things trigger you in life, your default mode could start taking you into stress increasing. And what happens is that's when you're not paying attention. You're idling. Have you ever been just not doing anything? You were fine, and your brain just went somewhere, and all of a sudden you got depressed or worried while you were doing nothing? You ever have that? That is default mode, where you have something in there that's triggering you when you're not even paying attention. So we can do something about all of this. We can change our habits and behaviors. One of the things we do in Teen Insight is we're really doing what we call neuroplasticity on the brain, as well as the heart, as well as our belief system. And our brain and habits and behaviors are formed through repeating something over and over. And then we either hear it a lot, we believe it a lot, and then suddenly it is a pathway literally in the brain. And neuroplasticity is just the science and the understanding now that we can actually go from any habit to another habit. And we teach people in insight, in teen insight and adult insight, how to do that. And so I'll give you a few in the moment research strategies. Then I'm going to bring it to a close. But let me just check to see. I don't see any questions in the chat. Okay. So let me just, I do see one question. Let me just check it. How much of the biotypes is biological? For instance, there are toxins that can cause brain fog in humans and rodents. How do you define the part that? So, what I would say the answer to that is I don't know. I'm not a scientist in that way. What we know at the organizations that we are all working for, doing teaching this, is that the part we can control is there's a lot that we can control. There may be some genetics and some biological issues that are beyond your control, but there is a lot in your control. Okay. And for example, I'm going to just show you a little bit here because I could spend hours on this. So when you breathe, when you take a deep breath, everybody, you're probably listening to me getting a little stressed out. So everybody, let's all take a deep breath. Slow in and then let it out with some sounds. One more, everybody. One more. And let it out. So when you do that, what we all just did was we signaled our parasympathetic nervous system that we are okay. Just now, we did that. Have you ever had a long day at school or work and you come home and you sit on your bed or the couch and you go, oh, you have just told your brain we're now safe. We're now okay. And the brain will start to go, okay, we're better. The air comes out of the balloon a little bit. Breathing will reduce the air in the balloon for every biotype. Every biotype is affected by deep, slow, conscious breathing. So when we get panicked, we don't even tracking it, but we'll be doing this. Not that loud, right? We're not even tracking it. You take shallow breaths. So when you want to consciously slow down and reduce stress, take in deeper breaths. That's why you hear meditation or mindfulness. That's not a spiritual practice at its core. At its core, it's just learning to slow down, to breathe, to observe your life instead of react it. There's a psychological principle around emotional challenges. If you have an emotional problem, they say name it. What does naming it do? Gives you a chance to observe it instead of just be in it. Like if I am depressed and I can just say I'm depressed. I'm depressed. Two different things. I am depressed. So it's almost like something I'm doing versus who I am. And when we can learn to breathe and observe, the brain literally physically gets thicker and bigger. It lowers stress. It improves emotional regulation. It enhances empathy and creativity. And this is one global technique we can all do every day. So you're at school. It's a stressful day. Somebody said something mean to you. You've got a lot of homework. What do? Just start taking a few breaths. Close your eyes. Think of something you love, a calm place, the place you love to go to most in the world. Take a deep breath. And when you breathe, you can reframe. So instead of thinking of something negative, remember, thinking of something negative increases stress. Take your thoughts to breathing and observing at the very least. If you get on your social media, use it for good. Look at some wonderful things that make you feel better. Slow your stress down, get control of it. Instead of what we do, especially when we're young, is we'll just keep thinking about the problem. Thinking about the problem makes the problem bigger. That's why people that learn how to harness the power of their breath, they start observing. And then when you open email or when you go to school and look at the homework assignments, we can have apnea, which is we stop breathing while we look at what's my grade or what's my homework or what happened to the email. What text did I just get? Just breathe. All right, so breathing is one thing. Another thing you can do for some of these biotypes is what we call graded exposure. You worry or it's really hard for you to move because you're so worried about something. Break it down to the smallest step possible. That's what graded exposure is. So basically, it's a scientifically proven way to help people confront and control anxiety. What you do is, let's say you're afraid to go to the party. So you put on your clothes to go to the party. I say that because I was afraid to go to parties, even though I wanted to go. I was afraid of talking to people because I didn't know what I was going to say. I'm just one of those shyer people when I get in those parties. So drive there, sit in your car outside for a while, walk in the front door, walk near the porch, hang out. I mean, this is graded exposure, and it literally helps your brain get out of default mode, right? And it'll help you get out of that automatic negative thought pattern and help you stay present in small steps. I'm gonna go to so look at what some people are doing. These are called micro steps, and we teach this in Insight. Small little actions you could take. So when you're overwhelmed, maybe all it is going to be, I'm going to do some breathing, or I'm going to do reframing, focus on something good, even though my mind started going negative, or a positive affirmation, or look, I'm going to go work out. What I do when things get really rough, I clean my house. My wife loves that. That is my go-to stress reduction strategy. But what is yours? You know? And then put what you're avoiding on a piece of paper. Just put it on a piece of paper in front of you. Don't do anything about it. Just let it. And then maybe you go, what is one thing I can do? I told a kid in the last teen training I did, can you do 5 minutes of homework a day? Quality homework. Forget about the non-quality. 5 quality minutes of homework because he wasn't doing any. And if you do that every day, your brain will build a new neural pathway. And within 3 weeks, you'll probably be doing all your homework in a quality way. Now, some people who are doing ruminating, they do worry time, literally scheduling worry time, scheduling time in their phone to stop everything and worry. It's really unbelievably effective because the two things that'll happen is the part of you that's unconsciously going, "Oh man, what about this problem? What about this problem?" You say, "Look, I'm gonna give myself time tomorrow to worry about the problem. So don't worry about it until then." Then when you do it, add this little trick. While you're worrying about the problem, write the word solutions and put a little line under it, and then just write down any solutions that you might be able to do to fix it. Don't do anything. Just worry, and then if you get a solution, write it down. So, these are just some of the kinds of things that we do, not only in Insight, but the work we're doing. Um, is about helping people learn to navigate their own power and like figure out how they not only tick, but how they take care of themselves. Even when I took Insight, I wasn't ready for everything that happened in my life. And my second child was born with Down syndrome, and I had a nervous breakdown just about because you know what, as many things as I was doing good, I wasn't doing much to take care of myself. As a matter of fact, if you ask me what what is it that I do that makes me fill my cup? I would tell you at the time, basketball was great. When I get to the gym, I loved playing basketball. And uh, maybe meditation, but beside a couple of things like that, didn't have a long list. So when my child was born and I had too much stress, my balloon popped. I didn't have anything to do. When you don't build it into your life, when the worst case scenarios happen, it's almost impossible. That's the paradox of self-care. If you don't have a self-care plan, when you most need it, you won't do it. So in Insight, we teach people how to build a self-care plan for life. And, I tell every kid I talk to in Teen Insight, you have to love yourself more than anything that happens to you. You have to take care of yourself because no one else is going to prioritize you the same way you can. I know your parents love you. Thank God most of our parents love us. Not every kid's parents were, Academy Award winners, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really even matter at some point because it's our life. And a teenager's life is their life. And our job is to help them prepare to live a wonderful life. So, that being said, I'm going to open it up for any questions, thoughts, comments about the topic, or anything else about Teen Insight. And then I'll let Rachel share some details of the upcoming seminar, and then we'll bring this in for a close. But any questions or thoughts, you can put them in the chat or you can just unmute.
Hey David, Lily here.
Hey Lily, how you doing?
Hi. Good.
Good to see you.
Really good to see you. Thanks for this morning. I think one of the questions that I think some parents might be asking is if we're not Insight grads, what does this mean for putting my kid in the seminar? If I've not done Insight, have no idea about it, what would your response be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would just say, I don't know who referred you to the seminar, but yeah, there is a certain level of trust required when your most valuable possession, your child, is involved. And that's why, Rachel, Lily, there are people here that live in Australia that can talk with you to give you more understanding of what we're doing. But I can only tell you that my most valuable possessions, my children, have all taken Teen Insight. And I would I have a granddaughter that's 1 years old, and she will be taking Teen Insight. Everyone I love, I want them to take it because it is so helpful for navigating life. So I would say the concern part, if I was a parent, I didn't know anything. Well, what is this? Is this a cult? Is this some strange? What does it happen? You take my kids away for 3.5 days, right? And once again, I get that idea, but that's not what we're doing. And we want time with your kid because we want them to make deeper relationships with the friends they will meet, which is often the most important part of it. And then we want to teach that whole group together a way of living that is uplifting, involving self-care and self-honoring choices, and creating a life of fulfilling relationships. And because we get a chance to have 3.5 days, the bond that happens with the group is one of the dynamics that allows the kids to continue on, right? They stay with it because they're friends, they've got new friends that are on a great vibe. There's a great path. So yes, I get information, but then the other thing I tell parents on the final day of the training, we do a little parent meeting, and I'll go over what happened and take questions. But any parent that likes what they see, we just say take insight and find out what they love so much. Rachel and Lily, and we just did our first insight in a long time in the region in New Zealand last October. And, Rachel and team are bringing it back. So, we hope to have adult seminars. Normally that's what we do first. But what I did, like Rachel, when my kids hit teenage years, I made Teen Insight, made it happen because I knew it would help them so much. I was trying to get a kid on the line on the Zoom. He lives in Denver, and his father took Insight with him. He was 17, but he came. They didn't have a teen training. They came and took the adult training, and they had such an incredible experience that he brought his 15-year-old son, the dad, to the next adult insight. And then they just had a teen insight in Denver in that area. But they had to he had to do it any way he could because he knew it was so valuable. So I could say that, and then I'd say just check it out, talk to us, get information because nothing is hidden.
Hmm.
Would you add anything to what I said, Lily?
Um,
Lily is
I,
one of our inside facilitators, by the way, so I'm glad she's sharing. But anything you would add?
I think I would just say that universally, every Insight grad that I've ever spoken to, myself included, yourself included, because I know your story, considers the experience of Insight a single most life-changing, um, good thing that created a foundational practice premise way of thinking about my life that I would never, never revoke. Like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity that makes permanent goodness happen. And
Yeah.
I love your story too, David. I joined maybe 3 minutes late, so I'm not quite sure if you shared your story about how you became an insight facilitator. Did you share that at all?
Well, I shared that I took Insight when I was 17, but I got so excited I ended up facilitating by the time I was 20. And what's funny is the founder of Insight, John Roger, was a little bit of a father figure to me and my brothers. So think of like we grew up in a very kind of like lower economic status. My mother took Insight and she ends up meeting John Roger and she ended up at some point working for Insight. My family, my mother, my brothers, and I started the first Team Insight. And that's how passionate we were. But I was once I took it, I was like, I have to facilitate. We had some major facilitators at the time, people like Jack Canfield and major like stars. And John Roger, who was the founder, just said, put David and Joey in the seminar training program. They're in. There was just he just fast tracked us. And now my brother Joey is the voluntary CEO of Insight Worldwide. I'm on the board of directors, and the passion has continued. But I mean, 40 years later, you know. So yeah, that's our story. Yeah, excellent.
Beautiful. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Oh, it's a joy. I mean, every training there's a story you go, if that one person feels that way about themselves, it was worth the whole week.
Hmm.
So I thank you guys for taking your time. Rachel, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, I'll just also share my screen. I've got a promo slide as well. So, and it just um has what hopefully a lot of you have seen already, just the dates of the seminar and the website address where all the information on the seminar is. So it is in Melbourne. It's at the Baldwin Community Centre and it runs on Thursday afternoon, all day Friday, all day Saturday and Sunday. And then there's a graduation ceremony at the end on Sunday, which is really beautiful for everyone to come to, friends, family, previous Insight graduates. It'd be wonderful to have everyone there to reconnect with the energy. And if you have any questions, I'll also put in the chat the email address so that you can write to us and ask us anything offline after the workshop that you have questions about. And um, and if we want everyone to be able to access this, we want as many teenagers in the room as possible because it's such important work. And we don't want to have any barriers to entry. So if things like the fee is a barrier for you, please write to the email address because we do have scholarships available and we want to make it possible for everyone to be there that wants to be there. And if you have any other concerns like places to stay or logistics around anything, then just ask and we'll see what we can work out for you.
Yes. And that's awesome. And I see what you're mentioning there, Tuesday, fun music. There's a lot of great music, fun, and um, it's a safe place, and it's a look. It's awesome, and we say we love as adults, we love the work, but it's not. It doesn't. It's not feeling that way for kids. It feels like a really fun weekend. It's a passion that we have. So reach out to us if you have any questions or if you know anyone, because look, this is a really great opportunity. you know, um, I just want to thank you, Rachel and team for holding a vision for this seminar. And we have people coming from, as Keith is sharing, Perth, Wellington, Sydney, and Melbourne. There's a lot of love and support converging to make it happen. So, anything you can do to assist us in getting as many kids to have this opportunity as possible. Don't let money stop you. I've never known of a person who really wanted to take our seminar that couldn't take it because of money. It's one of the wonderful things about being not for profit And what you'll find is a lot of the work that's being done in these groups is not for profit. There's a lot of people, that do this seminar to make a profit, and we're doing it just to keep it going and to transform the world into a more loving and caring place. So, um, excited for you all. Excited to be there in a few, I guess about a month or so.
Yeah.
Just checking in if there's any more questions. Otherwise, I'm going to be bringing this in for a close. And thank you all and for being with us. And Rachel, anything else you want to say before we bring it home?
No, thanks so much for your time, David, and for everyone else who's been here. Time is really valuable. We know what it takes to come to a workshop like this, to take time out of your weekend and to come and get the information. So thanks everyone for joining, and thanks for joining from overseas, David. We're looking forward to seeing you in about a month's time. And this is the first time that Teen Insight's been run in Australia for 35 years. So it's a pretty
Wow.
special event. And we're not sure if there's going
Rachel,
to be
you
any.
took that Teen Insight in Australia back 35 years ago?
Yeah, so my first Teen Insight was in Melbourne in about 1988. I did a couple in Sydney as well after that, but it's been a long time, and
Been a long
we're not
time.
sure if we're going to run another one. So if you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
interested, now's the moment to jump on board.
All right. Well, thanks for your service, Rachel, and thank you all who are assisting with it. And thank all of our guests for joining us. And ask us any questions. We'd love you to be there. And if you know of any teens, let's see if we can make it happen. And we'll
Fantastic.
see you all
Thanks, David.
on the other side. All right. Bye bye.